In Ireland, we use a voting system called PR-STV, and this stands for Proportional Representation by Single Transferable Vote. The Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Malta are actually the only places in Europe that use this voting system. What this means is when you are voting, you're not just voting for your favourite candidate. You must vote for every candidate that's on the ballot paper. From your favourite, who you'd vote number 1, your second favourite, you'd vote number 2, your third favourite, you'd vote number 3, all the way down to your least favourite. So for example, if this was my ballot paper, I'd vote for Michael Collins as number 1, for James Connolly as number 2, for Countess Markovic as number 3, for Eamon de Valera as number 4, and then Edward Carson as number 5. Ireland is divided into areas called constituencies. These are voting areas or districts, and they are not the same as counties. In Wicklow, for example, I'm in the Wicklow-Wexford constituency. If I was still at home in Cork, I'd be in the Cork Southwest constituency. For the 2024 general election, there are 43 constituencies. In the 34th Dáil, so in the next Dáil, there will be 174 TDs or politicians elected. The number of politicians elected can change based on the size of the population. Each constituency is given a number of seats, so each constituency has a certain number of politicians that they have to elect, and again, this depends on the population. So if the population of your constituency drops, then you could lose a politician. If the population of your constituency goes up, then you could gain another politician, you could gain another seat. In order to be elected in Ireland, you have to pass something called a quota. The quota is the smallest number of votes needed in order to get elected in your constituency. The quota is worked out by taking the number of valid votes plus 1 divided by the number of seats plus 1. So in the example below, if we had 10,123 valid votes and plus 1, you get 10,124 valid votes, and divide that by the number of seats plus 1. So if there's 3 seats plus 1, it's 4. So that means the quota for this constituency would be 2,531. So that means for anyone to be elected in this constituency, they must reach 2,531 votes. If you look at another example, so if you had 25 valid votes plus 1, that's 26, and you divide that by 3 seats plus 1, which is 4, you'd end up with a quota of 7. If a candidate reaches the quota on the first count, then they are elected. If a candidate surpasses the quota, then this candidate's leftover or surplus votes are randomly selected and then given to the number 2 pick on the ballot paper. So if you think back to earlier how we numbered the ballot paper, like 1 to 5, we numbered every candidate. So the number 2 pick would then get the vote. If nobody is elected after the first count, then the candidate with the lowest number of votes is excluded, and their votes are distributed to the other candidates. So for example, if I voted for Michael Collins as my number 1 pick, and I voted for James Connolly as my number 2 pick, if Michael Collins was excluded for not getting enough votes, then James Connolly would get my vote instead. Earlier I told you to number your candidates all the way to the end. This is because if nobody reaches the quota based off of first, second, or third preferences, then the people counting keep working their way down the ballot paper and through your choices, excluding and transferring votes until enough candidates reach the quota to fill the number of seats available.